Okay guys, so this is the final video, the Takahashi Sky90 against a Skywatcher 90mm f10. So f10, 90mm, 90mm f5.5. That one is a fluoride doublet. This is just an achromat, but in theory, these should be very comparable. So this time I have them on two different mounts. Let's take a look at Jupiter's high in the sky, and you can even see Orion above that light, and Mars is over there. So let's take a look. Unfortunately, right now, Venus already dipped down, so we can't see that. So let's get to it and see what happens. Okay, I got the slow motion controls on this one. I think we're ready to go. Let's take a look at Jupiter. Now, because this one is twice the focal length, doing it in half will actually be equivalent. Okay guys, so in the achromat, we're going to be using the 38mm, and then in that one, we're going to be using the 18mm. And let's start. Okay, we're going to start with Mars. Okay, got it. Okay, it's just really a big red ball. Okay, I got it here. Low power, I don't expect, to see any detail. If we use a 4.7 ultra wide, it takes us to 191 power, which is actually just above the maximum. These two scopes have been cooling for about an hour at least, so long enough. Oh, that's not bad at all. Nice round, clear shape. I don't see any albedo or like the surface detail, but it's Mars, it's round. And remember too, actually this is my first time looking at Mars this year, because I haven't let it get too high. So this is actually my first time. Okay, so what would happen now? The power is a little tricky, because this one's 900, that's 500, it's not quite double. Here's instead of 191, it's 212, so a little bit of a difference. What can I do? 6.7, 6 might work better. Okay, so I do have a 5mm, and with the 2 times bar load, that becomes 200 power. So instead of 212, we're going to be doing 200 and 191. So that's pretty good. So 200 in the Takahashi. First, let's go to 100, and then we'll go up to 200. So that's pretty close. It's only 9 power difference. Now, remember again, as last video, I did compliment this guy, this Takahashi, better, but it's not dead perfect. Any chromatic aberration at 200 power, that focus seems to be. Okay, let me go back on this one. Okay, this one's a tiny bit sharper, but that's because, again, this one's not collimated. Both look actually very similar. So I would say it's kind of like a tie. Let's go to Jupiter. 4 moons, see the 2 banding. That was easy. Okay, where's that eyepiece? Where'd I put it? Let me move the camera over there. Guys, I think I'm losing battery. It just told me low battery power. So if it dies, I'll just get back to you guys in a bit. So, okay guys, so my battery went down really fast. I thought it was around 20% when I looked, and it was actually at 15%. And on screen, it was saying low power save or turn off, and I wasn't sure, is it actually recording that or not? But I guess after I looked, it doesn't record display or the warning. So which is good, because then I don't know how long that was saying that warning for. But it was kind of interesting. So the conclusion, and this is why I love doing these conclusions and these side by side, because it actually surprised me. So the Takahashi Sky90 versus the 90mm f10 acro on Mars, it was I would say as a tie, as I said. I really didn't see any difference because Mars doesn't really have too much features. So I would say kind of a tie on that, but there was a huge difference on Jupiter. So on Jupiter, with the acro, okay, it's at f10, and you can still see some decent chromatic aberration. Now, the banding and the moons and the features, you know, were kind of crisp at f10, but a lot of false color. You can see it, a green tint, a purplish tint. It's there. You can't miss it, you know. But it was a pretty good image overall for a 90 mil refractor. Is, you know, decent. Now, on the Takahashi Sky90, there was no color at all. So there's a huge difference in color. So I thought the first time I asked that question several years ago on cloudy nights, somebody guessed would be f8. You know, as when I did these videos, as you saw, I was guessing at f10. But with Jupiter actually confirmed, you can clearly see a whole lot of color with the f10 achromat. But on the, even though it's only f5.5 on the Sky90, there was still, I didn't see any color. It was like a nice white color. So it can't even be f10, because at f10 I would have saw some color. So I'm for certain it's not even f12, and could be even higher, like f14 or 15 minimum, because I didn't see no color whatsoever. Again, I've read where people have said, why can't they make a fast short ED? You can, and it can correct like a lot of that color. Here's the only one thing that did surprise me though. The image quality, even though the color on the Takahashi Sky90 was virtually color free. Now, maybe if you did photography or imaging and take a photo, you could probably see some, but visually I didn't see any. So again, I'm thinking it's equivalent to a like f14 or 15, which is amazing for such a little guy. Be equivalent to something that long. But there is one thing that it doesn't do. The image quality is not quite as good, or it might be just a hair less than the 90 millimeter acro, or like a tie. It's virtually right around there. So it's, even though it has like no color, it does suffer a little bit on the image quality. And I guess that's why I read most of the people who asked that, why can't you make a short ED? And they talk about the Strel being, you couldn't make it high enough to make it a good. So it corrects the color very good, a short ED, but the image quality does still suffer a little. Now that's not too bad. Again, you get the color correction of f14, 15, but I think the image quality is roughly somewhere around the f8 to f10 achromat. So maybe for some of you guys, you might say that might be a perfect compromise. Maybe some of you might say, well, you know, I'm not sure. But for a little short guy to do his perform like that actually surprised me. Didn't think that the color correction was going to be that good as, or that big of a difference, but it was. So I'm glad I did the test. I'm glad I'm sharing that with you guys. Done a lot of reading on the Sky90, and a lot of people done reviews, but a lot of people I don't think actually compared it like what I did. First to a short tube, and then to a 90 millimeter like f10. At least I haven't seen any when I search it online. There's several of people just testing it by itself, but I give it 2 thumbs up. If you're looking for a short refractor that's ED, that's airplane, camping, cottaging size, that's going to be great on like land viewing. It's still good on the planets. It has almost zero color fringing, chromatic aberration, and somewhat sharp. I'm not going to say as sharp. I bet you, you know, if I compared it to the Takahashi TSA, the sharpness would be huge, you know. But for such a little guy, and short, where you have the, you know, the light cone that steep, the sharpness is fairly good. So I would give it 2 thumbs up. If you're looking for something like that, maybe consider it, but you know, unfortunately, you can only find it on the used market, and in Canada, that's really rare. I don't know about your countries if it's easier to find, but anyway, that's my experience with it, and I guess that's it for now. And there we go. Anyway, guys, why not you? Why not me?